Marriage. For Catholics, it's a sacrament. In the eyes of the Church, the bond of marriage cannot be dissolved. Only an annulment can allow a couple to break that bond. Nonetheless, many Catholics do get civil divorces. According to the latest data from the Centers for Disease Control, there were more than 689,000 divorces and annulments in the U.S. in 2021. That was across 45 states. California, Hawaii, New Mexico, Minnesota, and Indiana were not included. Studying divorce rates and reasons for divorce can be tricky. It's a complicated issue, and there can be many factors that lead a couple to want to end their marriage. A new study suggests that living together before marriage can lead to a greater chance of divorce. A study by the University of Denver for the Institute of Family Studies found that 34% of married couples who cohabitated before getting engaged got divorced. Comparing that to 23% of couples who cohabitated after engagement also ended in divorce. That's an 11% greater likelihood of a marriage ending if you live together before engagement. Brad Wilcox, professor and director of the National Marriage Project at the University of Virginia and senior fellow at the Institute for Family Studies, joins us now to talk more about the nuances of this study. Brad, thank you for being with us. The Church certainly does not condone cohabitation before marriage, but as we know, a lot of couples do it. What are the main reasons that couples are moving in together before marriage now?
Montse, I think what we're seeing today is a lot of folks are kind of testing the waters, trying to figure out if this person's a good prospect for marriage down the road, even kind of a serious commitment as well. But then also seeing too, a lot of couples are just kind of looking at cohabitation as sort of a way to, kind of basically save money, have a more convenient setup in their young adult world. So those are kind of the two, I think, tracks we see in the research by and large.
So either trying to test things out from a fear of commitment or financial reasons. The report mentioned making a clear commitment. Can you elaborate on that?
What we do see is that couples who kind of take things more slowly and deliberately, and who basically are trying to figure out if they have, the basis, the foundation for a strong friendship and commitment, are more likely to flourish. And so more particularly couples who wait to cohabit until after an engagement, or especially obviously couples who are waiting to move in together after the wedding, are the kinds of couples who are more likely to be flourishing in their marriages today.
How has diversity of cultures, diversity of languages in our country affected this? Is there a cultural difference that stops people from being able to communicate and find that common ground to marry?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we see among young adults in general, and certainly young adults here at the University of Virginia where I teach, is there's a kind of a confusion about kind of how to go about dating and mating. We don't have many kind of common customs to sort of orient young adults today. And so in a world where there are few rules, few scripts to abide by, many young adults think that cohabiting with someone is the best way to sort of figure out if they have a future together.
And Brad, then what advice does this report offer for a successful marriage?
We see, I think, both in this report and just more generally, is the couples who, again, kind of take things slowly, who kind of deliberate together about their future, who look for a common foundation of friendship, and who postpone cohabitation until at least an engagement, but I would say particularly until the wedding date, are more likely to be flourishing in their marriages, and they're more likely to avoid divorce court. And one of the sort of strongest findings in the report is that kind of accumulating a kind of a set of kind of experiences involving multiple cohabitations with more than one person is particularly risky. It's those folks who live with more than one person, more than their spouse, who are especially likely to end up in divorce court. So, of course, the easiest way to end up avoiding that scenario is just to wait until after the wedding date to live together.
Brad, really quick, what can communities do? I know that grandparents and parents worry about their children and how they can foster a desire for commitment, but also just strong relationships. What can they do?
I think it's really important to kind of educate your kids before, they hit 20 years old, to kind of let them understand and appreciate how much marriage matters for their future. What I see in my research is that kind of marital quality is the #1 predictor of global life satisfaction for Americans. So to kind of given that kind of reality, kind of give your kids a sense of sort of how important it is to kind of basically approach, dating and sort of finding a spouse with the same degree of kind of intentionality and seriousness of purpose that you do oftentimes with, your schooling and your career future. And if you kind of, take things seriously when it comes to dating, looking for someone who has kind of, some important measure of character, who shares your faith, for instance, you're much more likely to be flourishing when you go ahead and put a ring on it.
Really good advice. We suggest everyone put a ring on it. Thank you so much, Brad.
Thank you, Montse.